All right. We are broadcasting live. This is my favorite part. Look at the participant number down at the bottom. That number is just like ticking away right now. And over to the right, you'll see everyone logging in. Dave, if you can hear us, your video's not quite on yet. Alfredo Gonzalez, good to see you on again, sir. And Andrea's been on from St. Pete, has been on all of these as well. I feel like I'm aging myself, but I feel like Romper Room, you know, when you look through it, I see this one and I see this one. I'm going to catch a lot of people are going to pick on me for that one. Yeah, that's going to happen, but I'm all right with it. For those of you that are logging in, numbers are steadily growing. Remember that a couple of housekeeping notes. In your viewing area up in the far right-hand corner, you can be on speaker view or gallery view. If you're on gallery view, you can see all of us at one time, and it's just not one person popping up when they're talking. So that might be a little bit easier for you. And chat's starting to come in here. Remember the chat. Reach out. Tell us hello. Tell us how your day's going. Tell us who is tuning in. Oh, Michael, see, Alfredo just called you out for shaving off your beard. I told you should have kept it. Also remember down at the bottom, you'll see a Q&A tab. Any questions that you have throughout our conversation today, type them in the Q&A. You can type them in the chat as well. We just may not get to them as quickly that way. Q&A is a great place to hold all of those questions so we can get to everything your hearts and minds desire today during our time, because we have some great panelists. Hearty hello to you, Michael Hardy. Miss seeing your face. Chris Ellis, love the island flag. Look at that. You got all kinds of stuff going on, Michael. Canada's in the house. Joanne, thanks for being with us. Sarasota and Kelly. Asheville. Diana, I love Asheville, North Carolina. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, Steph. Mr. Hoffman, Bob Hoffman's on the line. Miss seeing you too. Can't wait until we can take it a show again. People are gonna, we have, I mean, these four guys have drawn a huge crowd, so we're gonna have people keep logging on. We're gonna see that number go out throughout. Would love to.
Barry, I think my screen is frozen up again.
I can't hear either.
Dave, I can hear you.
I can't hear Sherry.
Yeah, I can't hear Sherry either.
Dave?
Yep.
Can we hear? Okay, we can hear you.
I can hear you now, but I couldn't hear you a second ago.
Oh, awesome. Cool. And I'm getting some things that that you can't hear me right now. Can everyone hear me now?
Yes.
Perfect. Last week, last week we talked with Brand, talked a little bit about when it might be time to start partnering with operators again and creating packages and getting the message out there. So this week we wanted to come back to our operators, to our clients and friends, and find out what they're doing and hear what they're hearing from their clients. I would be remiss if I didn't take this moment to thank Tour Operator Land and Betsy Cooper, because she has sponsored all of our webinars, and it's amazing, and we couldn't do it without Tour Operator Land. But I want to jump in. I want to jump in and hear how everyone's doing. So Jeff, tell us a little bit about how you're doing, the company, and what your primary focus is outside of this COVID incident that's going on.
Yeah, hey, it's great to be on the webinar, and we were afraid that people had not been on enough webinars, so glad you could join us today. I am home here in Long Beach, California. Been working remotely for a couple months. Go into the office occasionally to water the plants and collect the mail. We are, we're doing what we can do right now. We're staying in touch with our clients. We're reaching out to our partners. We're trying to gauge, a sense of when things are going to start to return. We want to be ready when things are at that point. We're trying not to rush it. We're trying to batten down the hatches with our company and stay lean and mean. And we're certainly ready to return to normalcy. We miss it.
We really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today, Jeff. Thank you. And Michael, let's go to you, President of FM Tours. How are you doing today, sir? Clean shaven.
I'm really excited to have this opportunity. One of the things that is really stressful right now is the quietness of our industry. And to be able to get on this format and be able to interact with so many people, it really brings some new energy to the company. Right now, I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, I would put FM Tours right around a 6. And I base that on, the unfortunateness of having to downsize our company. So we're missing some of our team. That's very painful. And there's no uptick in the reservation product at this point in time because dealing with the Scandinavian market, all the borders are shut. There's a lot of gears that have to go into place before things happen. But we're staying very positive and focused on working on our product line, talking to a lot of our customers, which is absolutely important, not to overdo it, but to have the right amount of contact with them. We're also in touch with the hoteliers that we work with. We're going back to basics and making sure that we really fortify our relationships with those hotels that we're going to need. Once we start seeing a demand, then we can start talking rates. Before that, that's not going to happen. So again, truly happy to be here and participate in this webinar. So thank you very much for having me here.
Oh, of course. Thank you for taking the time. People are going to have tons of questions for all of you. Ernesto, coming to us from New York. How are you?
New York City, we are ready to open. Well, for everybody that doesn't know me, my name is Ernesto. I am with 5A Incentive Planners in New York. It's a DMC, that mostly is specialized in corporate business and lately also entertainment, so that really keep us busy. Well, in general, our plans right now is to work on our emergency plan, no? So what we're gonna do, let's take care about the business, and then our projection, that is the most important with this new type, of industry, that we have to deal with. Especially, with the new protocols that they are coming up right now, the limitation, of social, in between, all the people, because, some of the business that we handle is really, big crowd, like marathons, and concerts or, fashion weeks, those are the kind of programs, that normally, we handle. So in this case, we have to see, what is our new version, of the travel industry, in the next couple of weeks.
Absolutely. I think we're all trying to figure out what our new normal is, or our next normal is as we come out of this through recovery. Dave Cecco, Director of Product for WestJet Vacations. How are you, my friend? How's things going?
Great. Thanks for having me, Sherry. It's been a while, so I'm looking forward to seeing people and hearing from people that I haven't heard from in a while, so that's awesome. I'm coming to you from Toronto at the moment in my home office. And yeah, lots going on for sure. WestJet Vacations, we're very busy trying to figure out, what this means for us. Right now, I think, our biggest issues are the government restrictions that are in place in Canada, and of course, border closures and things like that. So we've got a lot to work through before we see the market start to rebound, and we're looking forward to some of those restrictions being lifted so that we can move forward and push ahead.
I think everybody on this call would welcome that, would agree with you in that statement. We're all looking forward to that happening.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit, and I know questions will start coming in here soon, so I'm monitoring the Q&A. But let's talk a little bit about consumer sentiment, and that's one of the questions that has been consistent, throughout. Is what have you heard from your clients? What do they feel? Do you feel like they're ready to travel again? Are they ready to travel again? What kind of questions are you getting from them? Jeff, let's start with you. Anything specific you've heard?
You know what? I mean, as Michael mentioned before, our markets are pretty heavily regulated. There's a lot of pieces that have to be put in place until, people are ready or, allowed to travel again. I think they're ready. They're eager to travel. We see that, particularly in the German market. There's a lot of discussion now on establishing guidelines for safe travel, and that has to do with the airlines, and it certainly has to do with group travel. And that's sort of the biggest question for us, is when those regulations will be put into place and adopted as policy so that the tour operators can, adapt those to their product. That's going to affect pricing, and that's going to affect behavior on tours. And that's something that we're sort of waiting to see. That's the political side of it, the consumer sentiment. I think everyone is certainly concerned with safety, but I think the enthusiasm for travel will temper that somewhat, as we see in behaviors in the United States right now. I think individual travel is certainly going to return more quickly, and it's going to be a little bit more fluid. But I think group travel is the one piece that we are concerned with, and certainly on the pricing and regulation side of things.
Totally agree with that. And Ernesto, are you hearing anything, knowing that you do some group as well, hearing anything specific from your clientele? And I'm going to throw another question out there, as you're worried about group and kind of what the regulations are going to be there. Is your company making any changes to kind of counteract what that might be?
Yes, and generally, we have to revise the protocol because, the majority of this group that they are coming here, is, first of all, when they board the plane, it's going to be less capacity than used to be. And the same thing will happen when they got here. On the buses, I am pretty sure, the situation will be the same. So the protocol about the mask, about, the things that are going to happen, when they get into the hotel. So it will change a little bit, the structure, how we run. So we need to be ready for that as well. But the good thing is, that Spain, Italy, they are starting to get open, for the market. So that's a good sign. When the airlines, make the next step, it will help in general, to see how the business is going to grow, with these new regulations, because, it depends also on the areas. We handle mostly, the Euro market and the Latin American market. So the Latin American market is going now in the level, where they are getting hurt, a lot. So, we don't, especially, Brazil, for example, is already on the list, countries, they are not allowed to come into the States, for the reason, they have a huge, amount of people, that they are, sick. So we have to watch also those things, but definitely, with this new protocol coming up, it will change a little bit, the way how we handle the business, because I'm pretty sure it will be limitations, for concerts, for crowds, and, we have to start to deal with that now.
Absolutely. Michael, what are you hearing from your clients, and any changes that you might be making to kind of adapt to their needs?
The only thing that we've really identified at this point in time is that more than likely groups are going to be smaller. Typically, we're dealing with groups that are right around 30 to 40 passengers. We're expecting that to drop back primarily because of airline seats and the costing that airlines are going to start putting on those seats. That's a serious factor that we're going to have to consider. It's not a portion of what we're doing, but if airline seats do track or tend to track up on pricing, that's an expensive portion of a trip for two people or a family. So we're looking at smaller contracts, but we haven't gone in and started changing any of our contractual clauses. We haven't done that yet because we don't have a solid picture on what's going on. And it's a little too soon to start changing things. When we start hearing that, you know, okay, we've got this group and this is what's going to happen with it, and we start working with the hotels on those future groups, that's when things are going to start coming into play. So pretty much right now, FM Tours, everything is intact as it was previously.
Perfect, thank you. Dave, same question. I know you guys are going through a ton of strategy meetings on when the borders open and you can start flying again, but are you hearing anything specific from your clients coming in? You know, I don't know if you guys read the news, but the theme parks are opening again. So I'm sure you're bombarded with questions about that. We're thrilled about that, by the way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Definitely, you know, we're pulling our guests as much as possible. The safety concern is number one for sure for them. You know, unfortunately, we have a big number of Canadians that have advised that they would wait to travel until there is a vaccine. So that's a bit concerning. Of course, we still have a lot of Canadians that are willing to travel, and for them, it's more about, you know, what are the safety protocols being taken, you know, starting at the airport, the aircraft, on aircraft, and then of course arriving in destination, and huge is on the hotel. So what are the sanitization and hygiene measures taken at the hotel? You know, what are they doing to encourage social distancing? You know, what are the changes at the hotel? You know, I think everyone's concern also is the pricing. Typically when these crises happen, the consumers are looking for better deals, you know, in order to encourage them to travel. You know, although I do believe there will be some amazing deals probably coming out for, you know, the immediate kind of late summer and fall. You know, it's a bit worrisome as to how long, you know, the airlines are going to be able to sustain reduced pricing, or, you know, reasonable pricing, let's say, you know, with load factors that are going to be reduced, whether that's due to social distancing or not. You know, currently WestJet does have a social distancing prospect in play right now. So until the end of June, I believe, right now, we are practicing social distancing on the aircraft. So a lot of the aircraft, you know, is not even available to be purchased. So definitely a lot of concerns around that, but safety for sure is the number one for the Canadians, and definitely, you know, with the restrictions that are in place, with you know, our Prime Minister advising, you know, no non-essential travel, with the fact that if you travel a transborder, you know, to the U.S. or to the Caribbean or Mexico, you need to come back and quarantine yourself for 2 weeks. You know, those are pretty big things that you know, are going to affect people booking. You know, not to mention that you know, travel insurance right now is a huge problem as well. So you know, when the governments have travel advisories in place, travel insurances typically will not cover people for what that advisory is. So and the consumers are definitely aware of that. Purchasing insurance that's not going to cover them, you know, if they were to contract COVID while they're away, is an issue. And definitely there is no coverage for cancellation or interruption, you know, due to COVID. So, I mean, we're encouraging them as much as possible. We have various policies in place ourselves. We have a book with confidence, which allows people the ability to cancel their trip 24 hours or more prior to departure. You know, and that's for any booking right now that's made until the end of June. So that's a huge thing. They can book, you know, March break or the big breaks next year and still have that in place. So, you know, really we're doing whatever we possibly can to try and instill confidence for them to book. But until these restrictions are lifted, or at least somewhat lifted, I think you know, we're going to be dealing with some very low booking levels.
Right. I think everyone is feeling and thinking those same things. Knowing that, you know, we're waiting for things to come around, where we know what we're facing. In those same conversations with people, are you expecting a change in booking patterns or destinations? You know, I obviously, you know, Michael, you said, hey, we're keeping things exactly the way they are right now, but do you see the customers maybe wanting more outdoor space, more open activities, rural destinations versus metro destinations? You know, is anybody seeing changes like that?
You know, in the conversations that we've been having with our clients, it really seems to me that they're going to be going back to destinations that they're comfortable with, because they've already experienced that destination. And so what we've done is we're focusing on, you know, the Scandinavians. They absolutely love, you know, California, New York, Florida. Those are their primary destinations. And so that's what our focus is right now, is to make sure that, one, we're in very good contact with all of our top producing partners, so that when the demand starts coming back, then we can start talking about the rate structures. And the consumer is definitely going to be looking for a very good balance between amenities and the value of the hotel itself. You know, that said, I really think that the hoteliers are really going to have to take a strong look at not only what they're offering in their, you know, immediate corridor, but when you start talking about added ancillaries, and I won't call it that other fee, the consumers are really going to look at that. And I think hotels really need to step back, go back to basics, and put out a one price, great value, so that it can trickle through, you know, our systems. And one of the things on some of those extra charges when you get to the destination are our market, and I think Germany, Jeff, if you might want to comment on that as well, are going to a one price scenario, so that when the consumer sees that price, that's what they have to have. And so I think, you know, looking for that great value is what they're going to be looking for, but we don't know where to set that marker yet.
Right. And Jeff, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, we see that as well. I think there's a couple things. One, we've, you know, certainly the Germans, as well as most, you know, of the European markets, are looking probably for simplicity in pricing. And that has not been the case in our hotel environment for a long time. There's been a lot of movement and, you know, late term specials that we can't really pass on. And it represents something that's really not good value. I think another area of concern for me is that a lot of worldwide destinations now are subsidizing visits and travel to their destination with really incredible deals. And I think, as Michael pointed out, the hotels need to really find that strong price point, get it out early, and balance that with a level of service in the hotels. Hopefully that will change. As I mentioned before, I was traveling, you know, Orlando last week and was at a hotel, and there was absolutely no service. There was completely no touch, no house cleaning, you know, no housekeeping, no food service. And I think that's something that's going to affect our travelers as well, where they want to take in the, you know, all that the destinations have to offer. They still want a comfortable stay in the hotels. So those services are going to have to be ramped up to be attractive to potential customers.
So keeping that in mind, and you said something that made me think. We've been talking about pricing, but you've been talking about some of the great deals that are happening out there, and it's varied from conversation to conversation on enticements and value adds, and if they're going to be important right now. Ernesto, what do you think? I mean, do you think that there are certain, you know, after we've seen 9/11 or oil spills, or, you know, things that have happened in the past, the recession, travelers got really savvy, and they wanted value. Is that going to be necessary right now? You know, the debate has been, no, it's not necessarily about price. It's about service, as you mentioned, Jeff, or are there enticements out there that work that we need to be thinking about?
Well, we have to analyze first the point that once the internet appeared, the passenger have access to everything. So in order to put package in the market, the hotels need to come with something substantial, like just the best offer in the market. Because in some of the markets that we handle, like New York City, for example, San Francisco, Chicago, those are cities, where you don't see, super duper specials, all the time. So this time, the things have to be changed. Besides, the occupability of the hotels here now have increased in the last couple of years, like the triple, more of the triple, with new boutique hotels, that we have now every corner. So we need, and besides, we have to see that some of them also they're out of the picture. So, it's a product, that has to come up, with the help, of the tour operators in order to really promote, the destination and a product that's going to be, because don't forget, the passenger will take a risk, in other words, to make this trip. So tell me why I have to choose to go to USA when I can stay in Europe and I will be close and I will be safe. So, there are so many things, that I think we have to reinvent ourselves in order to offer something, unique and different, that it will be worth it for them.
Right. No, and absolutely, definitely unique and different. And one of the trends we've seen on all of these calls is not just stuff, but an experience. So to your point, Jeff, the service and the experience, that's what we're seeing people kind of leaning towards right now. When it comes to pricing, because we did throw it out there and talk about pricing, I saw Jackie just went through it, Rosenschenkel Creek, no resort fees. Thank you, Jackie. But is there anything else that's going to help you through recovery now? Is it cancellation policies? Is it comp policies? What exactly are you looking for, Jeff, when you're coming out of recovery and moving forward?
Well, we're put in the position now, in order to rebook current clients and solidify those bookings for 2021, we are having to match our rates for 2020 in order to confirm those bookings now. So we're actually in a risk scenario. We haven't contracted completely, and we have taken a pulse that rates for the most part seem to be staying flat, down, some are increasing slightly. So we felt pretty good about that risk. That's going to be important. So stability and rate for 2021, I think, is key for us. For groups, comp policy will certainly be important. When you look at the pricing model, I think it was mentioned before that, when we're normally trending with 30 to 45 in our group loads and they're priced accordingly, if we start, having typical loads of 20 passengers on a coach, the price point is going to be very expensive, and that comp for a guide or for a driver is going to become that much more important as a piece of the overall price. So that will be important. I think everything's important at this point in time. We need to represent the U.S. as a destination that represents great pricing, good value, and a welcoming spirit. And
couldn't agree more. Yeah, absolutely couldn't agree more. Dave, obviously WestJet is doing some of their own enticements right now. The book with confidence, I love, and an enticement always isn't an extra room or or a discount off of things. What are some of the things that WestJet Vacations will be looking at when they contract into next year?
Well, definitely what we're definitely looking at is very flexible cancellation policies. So, I can share that the majority of our hotels are in agreement. We do have, a few that don't like it. The problem is going to be that we're going to have to start to turn off the hotels that aren't going to have that flexible cancellation policy as our bookings start to resume. Because if we're allowing our guests to cancel, 24 hours before in order to give them the confidence to book, then, we need the hotels, to oblige. So to this point, booking levels are quite low. So we're not overly concerned. The majority of our partners have agreed. But definitely moving forward, like I said, that is huge. I know a lot of partners have, agreed to do it until December. They feel that, they are willing to do it until that period. For us in the Canadian market, specifically the warmer destinations in the US and then of course our other sun destinations, the biggest travel period is going to be the winter, so January to April, which we are already selling. So for us, it's very important that those flexible cancellation is available for that period as well. So that is the biggest thing. And then, I think another big concern is, what others have already alluded to, is that what's that experience going to look like for people? And, if they are spending the same or more on a vacation, what are those expectations going to be that they're going to get? And, what are we going to be dealing with if they are not being met? So that's also another big concern of ours. We're really following what each destination is doing, what each state is doing, or each major city that we service, so that we can better educate the travel agents and the consumers as to what to expect at any given time. But of course, even with the opening of the attractions, the announcements of the last week, we're really going to be following that closely, seeing what that looks like. As an example, when Disney sent out their opening communication, it was very clear that they're not even selling tickets, for however long. I don't know whether it's the first few weeks or not. But for us to promote that, Disney's open on July the 11th, and encourage people to fly, that would definitely not go over well when they can't even get into the park. So again, those are the things we all need to take into consideration, because the last thing we need is negative attention from those first travelers.
Exactly. And speaking of experience, a question has come in from Anita. Thanks, Anita. Any thoughts, as we're all taking polls of our clients and our industry, any thoughts on how guests or travelers will feel about being subject to temperature checks or wearing masks going into attractions or hotels? Has there been any conversation about that you've heard?
Are you speaking to me? I definitely.
Anyone jump in. Go ahead, Dave.
I think that for the majority of the Canadians at this point, they would welcome that. I don't think that's a big issue. I think that shows that they're being more protected. For how long, I don't know. But I know for sure, guests are almost reassured when they board our aircraft and they see the precautions that our in-flight team are taking. That's definitely going over really, really well. So I would assume they would welcome it because they want everyone else to do it.
And I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you. And I think anyone, this is commonplace in other markets. I think it's just something that hasn't been commonplace in the U.S. And I think we'll see a shift, to people understanding that. Michael, have you, as you've interacted with some of your clients, have they had any concern about masks or new safety protocol that they might have to be a part of?
Nobody's really specifically pointed anything out, but the main thing that I think everybody is looking for is, what are the products that we're using? What are they doing in relationship to the safety? So while nobody has specifically said, do I have to wear a mask if I go here? Do I have to have my temperature checked when I go here? I think that's a question that they have on their mind, but they're really looking to see the overall picture on how the safety measures are being implemented. And if they're safe with those, then they'll proceed.
Absolutely. Jeff, do you feel the same way?
I do. I think everyone's used to it at this point. I think as long as they're not getting their temperature taken rectally, they have no problem with it.
Well, but to that point, you know, temperature scans could become commonplace when you're walking to get on a plane or through an airport or even into some of the parks. So I think it's something that we're all going to learn, and we're all going to learn how to accept as the next step as we get through this. One clarification, Michael Hardy wanted to know, when you said New York was one of the top markets, did you mean New York City or all of New York State?
New York City is the known center of the universe for travel. It's New York City, predominantly Times Square. Thanks for the question, Mike.
So, you know, we talked a little bit about talked about, you know, theme parks opening up. Everyone, you know, not just theme parks, but museums and cultural institutions, tours, time tours. So Shoshana, thank you for this. As it relates to attractions, cultural institutions, any feeling on time ticketing versus anytime ticketing? Have there been conversations like that? Ernesto, I mean, you do marathons, right? And you're trying to figure out when you can start selling those marathons again, and you haven't heard that information, but you know, that relating to, you know, also relates to attractions and cultural institutions like museums.
Well, you know, going back to a comment that they made, you know, it's something, you know, that we have to analyze carefully, because, you know, especially, you know, with all our providers, you know, not only hotels, if not also other type, you know, of attractions, because, you know, the passenger, you know, will come here and generally with the idea about, okay, I can do that, but what about if I cancel? So, you know, we need to have also this security, you know, that we will be able to process this, you know, and make them happy, because, you know, if the situation gets, you know, a little bit more complicated here, you know, what's going to happen? Because at this time, for example, they haven't canceled, you know, certain, you know, events, you know, like Boston or Chicago or New York City. But we don't know yet what's going to happen yet, you know, in the next couple of weeks. So we need to assure, you know, whatever you sign, especially a contract, you have to be sure, you know, that your partner, you know, or your provider, it will be on your side. Like no penalties, like, for example, more like flexible in questions about, you know, to help the other part, because the other part, you know, who is selling also this product is also taking a risk of the client, you know, and we want to assure, you know, that we will deliver, in other words, you know, what we are offering.
Perfect. So we're going to talk, we talked a little bit about consumer sentiment, but a question just came in that kind of hits on that and will move us into marketing when we talk about that. Is there a global perception that the U.S. has not reacted well to the pandemic? And if people are feeling not safe to travel here? I know that's a touchy subject, so yeah.
I think this is international, because if we analyze, for example, every country independently, for example, like Mexico, like Brazil, you know, and it's question about, you know, not how we handle the situation. If not, you know, it's how we present the situation. Because, you know, we can say we are taking all the precautions here, but in the other side, we are not doing our homework, and we will be sure, you know, that these people, as soon as they got here, you know, they have, you know, at least, you know, the basic, you know, part, you know, of safety, you know, that's like we are lying. But in general, you know, if we analyze the concept, you know, about the forecast of the industry, you know, we have to be a little bit more specific in questions about the international business. Let's be realistic. It's not going to come back at least in a year. But the domestic market, it will really come back more often. Maybe the international will come back, you know, but not in the percentage that we expect. But, you know, the domestic, it's now hungry to go out, to do something. Even, you know, if we're having right now the virtual meetings for conferences, perfectly, you know, that will have a transition. It's something new, you know, that we are adapting now. But in general, you know, the business domestic, especially, you know, it's something that we should really look, you know, more strongly.
So keeping that in mind, domestic's coming back first, and all of you work with international travelers. Are you looking at at a model where you do some domestic business for a year until that comes back? Are you looking at shifting a little bit?
Well, in our business, it's different because in the last couple of years, we were trying to incorporate entertainment. So that means, the domestic market also is a consumer of that. Of course, there are different levels in corporations, that we have to target, but that's in our, next plan, that emergency that we are taking, and generally to really, do the projection, what we want to do, in the next couple, months. That in general, that's the market, that we should really target because there is a market, that, that it's looking also for the same thing.
And Jeff, any idea, any thought process to doing something a little more domestic driven for clients, or feeling good that by the end of the year you might have some travelers coming in?
I'm not feeling that good about that, quite honestly.
None of us are. Yeah.
I think we will have travelers at the end of the year, but I think the volume levels are not going to sustain us as we're structured currently. We have a few domestic clients who we've been slowly growing over the last few years, and we will continue to grow them. I think our current model, we'll have to really look at it and see how we reach out to the domestic markets, structured obviously very differently. But we're looking at a few different options now, and hope we can put those into place, for the second half of this year to at least salvage a little bit of business before international really starts to come back.
Got it. Michael, are you looking at anything like that?
One of the very first things that we did, and I can put a date on it, it was March 16th, we selected an advisory board to help guide us with our thought processes through this. And the advisory board is made up of retired business owners, other professionals not in the industry, and employee input. And discussions came up about, are we interested in getting into the domestic market? And there was a huge financial hardship to turn that corner. To put in place the distribution, to pull those rooms in, we didn't feel that it was enough to make up the difference on what's happening right now. And we also feel that more than likely, by the end of the year, first quarter, things are going to be shaping up so that, we can continue doing what we're doing and not change, FM tours, that the way we've been doing business for, 34 years. So our focus is to, stay on course, stay in Scandinavia, stay with Iceland, stay with Icelandair, and work with them to meet their needs to move their passengers. And that's how we'll find our success again.
Perfect. So let's move to marketing. So this is a crowd. I mean, you recognize all of the names and people that you know. This is a crowd that wants to know how to help. They want to know how to partner with you. They want to know what they need to do moving forward to help you be successful as we come out of this. So have you started marketing to clients yet? And if so, what are the ways that the attendees can partner with you on that to help get your message out? Jeff?
You know what, I think we find that piece, it's sort of a fine line, and we're trying to achieve the balance of getting our marketing message out to our clients, getting some rates and promotions and attractive pieces out to our clients, but doing it at the right time. Obviously, we can't bombard them now. I think what we're all finding is people's resources are really compromised. So we're waiting until we have sufficient promos and rates to send out rather than doing a weekly sending. And we're sensitive to the fact that they're also dealing with different issues and can't really digest a large quantity of information. So timing is very important for us. I think, again, as we mentioned earlier, simplicity of pricing and an attractive lead-in pricing rather than a discounting off of a higher price, is definitely something we need to put in place. I think we're finding a lot of our clients who still produce brochures, and which is still very common in a lot of Europe, really are trying to find that sweet spot of getting an attractive publication out with less product, but more attractive product, and then having the bulk of their product really complemented through their websites or online apparatus. So having great pricing, keeping it simple, doing away with resort fees, things like that, added value, all of that helps. But simplicity and real attractive, straightforward pricing, I think, is what we're trying to put forward to our clients at this point.
Love that. Dave, anything on marketing that you can share?
Yeah, marketing. We would love to be marketing. Unfortunately, we don't know what we're marketing at the moment. So yeah, it's kind of a bit on a pause. The Canadians specifically are being hit really hard about our refund issues. So the consumers are definitely questioning or the refund issues, whether we're refunding, whether we're not refunding, whether we're refunding to our WestJet dollars or our competitors are doing to credit. So we're a little bit sensitive that maybe this isn't the time to start promoting new sales. We're also just being really cautious because the last thing we want to do is to start promoting something that we're not going to actually fly. And right now it's difficult to know, is that border, closure going to extend? Is it not going to extend? So our schedule is in place. We definitely, if you go in on our site, you'll see flights to the US, you'll see flights to Mexico and the Caribbean as well. As we get closer to the time, then we will continue to adjust. But again, we really want to refrain from saying, hey, we have this flight on June 28th, why don't you book it? When we're really not 100% confident that the flight is going to go for all these various reasons. So I believe that we will start to market as soon as some of the restrictions are lifted. And yeah, we have a lot of interest from our partners to do so for sure. So we're welcoming that kind of support and partnership for sure and ready. But we need to wait for the right time in order to do it. We want to make sure it's effective and that we're not setting people up for further disappointment in what they're doing.
Absolutely, and I think even our destinations and attractions and all of the suppliers, hotels, museums that are here on the call struggle with the same thing. We want to market. What's the right time to market? What we've heard through some of these calls is we're not marketing anything specific. We're marketing an inspiration, or we're telling a story. And are any of you doing that with some of your clients, maybe through social media videos or virtual FAMs or any type of video that you might be trying to provide inspiration for when you do open up those flights? Michael?
We're definitely not doing any marketing, and I have to agree with Jeff. Now's the wrong time to be sending so much information to our client base to go, hey, this is what we've got coming up. We don't even know that's coming up yet. And so for us, our strategy is back to basics. And basics means picking up the phone, talking to the customers, talking to the agents, talk to agents that, maybe only book you a couple times a year, see what they're doing, see how they're feeling, and become involved in their day-to-day. The unfortunate thing is like a lot of companies, several of our client partners, anywhere from 30 to 60% of them have been furloughed. We're still keeping in touch with those folks on their personal emails or personal, cell phones and keeping an interaction. And that's our, if you will, marketing plan. Stay in touch with them, see what they need, see what they're doing. And as soon as things start turning around, then you'll have something really business-wise to talk about, to put a program together, to put an offer out there that makes sense. And that's kind of what you have to wait for.
Understood. So a couple of questions have come in, and we talked a little bit about flexible cancellation. And I know we were talking about that from a hotel side, but from an attraction side, Robert Graff, thank you for the question. curious about what that means for you. Are you full flexible cancellation? Does that mean full refund available for a visitor? Or does it mean that it can be a credit if they have to cancel? I think with attractions, it's what if they cancel the day before? You know, what does that mean for us and how do we need to prepare for it? Jeff, you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. Hey, Robert. I think in general, we're trying to give our clients as much flexibility in packaging products to their clients to give them a level of comfort. As mentioned before, a lot of the insurance policies are not covering certain things having to do with, COVID. And so there's a lot of uncertainty. I think to give people just a general sense of confidence in traveling again, they need to have some policy in place where they have, cancellation. I don't think it needs to be a day out, for our clients. They're obviously making a commitment to travel internationally. So a day is not something that comes into question, but a general policy that refunds their money. I think everyone now, that's a hot button topic is, are you getting refunded or are you getting credited? And I think everyone now, whether they're our clients or they're our clients' passengers, really want to have a security that if they do cancel, they get their money back. They don't have a rain check for a future trip. Yeah.
And another question, thank you for answering that, Jeff. Another question is from Jackie Diaz. Do you see any changes in a booking window? Do you think they're going to book closer to an arrival date or further out? And do you see a change in length and stay? Ernesto, have you seen any changes like that?
Well, mostly, the people, what they are doing lately is they can postpone the trip. Like, for example, if we're supposed to have a group in September and the things, are not really secure, the things are going to get back to normal at least to 50%, the people is postponing these trips. Or either they are canceling, but it depends, exactly what kind of business you are dealing with. Because, some of the corporations, they have a budget and they have, a program that they have to run it. So, they don't have an option. So they have to look for a second alternative. It's like you move one destination to another one because probably, this destination, and this is what we're trying to do, because if the client has something in a certain location that is not going to reopen soon, but we have the option of Orlando, the option, that will open soon. So, I think after June, the things, are going to decide exactly, how we can really manage, this situation. But what we are trying is to keep the business here, because when you cancel, it's a loss. But when you postpone, it's a different story, because some of these groups, they already have the passage, and certain, agreements, that we have made also with our suppliers.
Thank you. Absolutely. So, Michael, you work closely with Icelandair. We know that. Are you seeing any changes in booking windows?
Well, right now we're in the quiet period, as we call it. They're not really going to start picking up their booking pattern until September for the October, November, December, January window. So we're kind of confident that it's going to come back, because it's still a ways away. So we're comfortable with that. One of the things that we know for sure is, out of 18 gateways in North America, we're focused on 5. And so those 5 gateways are going to have to carry our fall with our Icelandair business. And they're looking at their traditional, patterns. They're going to be looking at Minneapolis. They're going to be looking at Boston. They're going to be looking at Orlando, Chicago, and so those are the partners that we're talking to for that fall business right now. And we're not talking to them about give us the best rate, give us, we're not a predator, we're a partner. We want to make sure that when things do open up, when things start rolling again, that we're a partner and we're both in this for the right reason. And we want to make sure that the end result the passenger is satisfied, with what they've purchased from Icelandair.
I couldn't agree with you more. So I promised these guys that we would be, hard stop in an hour, that I would only take an hour of their time, and also promised them that this would go very quickly, and it's 1:56. I promised you guys that this hour would fly by. I want to leave everyone with some final thoughts. Jeff, final thoughts on how we can help, what we can do to partner with you, now or in October or in January.
Yeah, I think keeping the communication like this open, sharing best practices is a great opportunity for all of us to learn how best to go forward. As mentioned before, it's pretty simple. As pricing as attractive as we can get it, we need our pricing early. We need to get things in place now so that we can get prices to customers who want to capture those, our clients who want to capture the rebookings. That seems to be taking place. It seems to be happening. So I would continue that and stress that. I think from a marketing point of view, we're all pretty much in the same boat. We're trying to send the right message, but not overwhelm our clients, and continue to have great dialogues like this one to keep everyone up to date.
Thank you. Ernesto, final thoughts.
My final thoughts, I saw an ad last night that really inspired me, and I want to send it to everybody. I saw an ad that says, it was a restaurant. I don't want to mention the name because I don't want to, give any publicity to anybody like on TV. But the message says, we are closed, but we make delivery. So in our case, we are closed, but we are here to help you right now and in the future.
That's a great message. Thank you, Ernesto. Michael, any final thoughts?
Our mantra here at FM Tours is we will find a way or we will make a way. And we need your help to do that. We need, the hotel side of the business, pick up the phone and call me, and have an agenda when you call me, and let's talk about what we can do, in your destination. 8 out of 10 times, unfortunately, the answer is no, we don't go there or we don't book that area. But I think now is time to start those relationships that you don't have, or if you have one, strengthen it. If you're on our contracting list, put together some rates that we're both comfortable with. Let's talk about them. Let's see if we can get them into the system. And when the demand starts, let's adjust them. We're not about selling a $30 hotel room. You can't have a turnover cost when you're selling those low rates. We want fair rates. We want good product. And we definitely want a nice balance between the amenities and the service of the properties.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And Dave, final thoughts.
Yeah, I definitely echo Michael's comments for sure. I think, although we may need to do quite a bit to stimulate the market in the coming weeks and months, it's definitely not, any of our top choices to have those $30, hotel rates or the $200 air seat rates either. So, we all need to make money. We need to make margin. And in order to do that, the actual selling price needs to be at a reasonable level, or no one benefits, including the consumer. I mean, there's only so much that, we as an airline and a tour operator can do, and there's only so much that the hotels can do with that type of revenue, or, or the margins that they have. So definitely we want to work with everyone that we have been working with. We encourage everyone to, send us whatever you can as far as specials and offers for sure. Definitely, like I said before, the cancellation, the flexible cancellation is our biggest concern at the moment. And, as the weeks and months progress, that's going to be the biggest factor that we're going to be looking at with our partners. Yeah, and that's it. This is an amazing, opportunity. We really appreciate it. And it's great to see. I've been getting messages even on my cell phone and everything saying, wow, I haven't seen you in forever. So it's great. It's awesome.
Nice to connect. Yeah, we talked about this on our run-through call. It's nice just to have people see our faces and see names and remember why we love this industry so much, and the connection that we all have. So I couldn't thank our panelists enough for taking an hour out of their time and being with us and sharing some insight We also mentioned that there's no crystal ball that tells us what to do, but as many conversations as we can have like this and garner the information and make our best choices, that's going to help us move forward. So thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time. All of our attendees that are with us every week, thank you very much for sticking with us and coming back on and listening to our conversations and what we have to say. Next week, we have some great stuff coming up. Our marketing webinar on Wednesday of next week, we are co-producing something with Arrival. So it's going to be talking about how to work with local tours and activities and attractions and DMOs working with that local audience. If Lisa Catron is still on the line, I have to do a shout out for Memphis because their zoo has really done some great stuff for the community, and the DMO Memphis Tourism has done some wonderful things with them. So they're a great one to look at for that. And then our travel trade webinar on Thursday, we're going to switch it up again a little bit, and we're going to talk about the future of events, which you all know is close to my heart because that's what we do. And Carol Anasante from CITA, Pete Pantuso, CEO of ABA, Will Suckham, our president and CEO, and Malcolm Smith, Senior VP and General Manager of IPW, will all be on to talk about what their events look like in the future and what we can prepare for. So keep in touch with us. Everyone's information we're going to send out like we always do. And as you know, this is being recorded, so that will be up on our YouTube channel and on demand on our website. But thank you for sticking with us. And thank you so much, Jeff, Ernesto, Michael, Dave, for being with us and taking the time. Appreciate you guys, and everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Bye.
Right.
Bye.